Everyone that's jumping on, if you are in the Zoom, thank you so much for joining. We are recording this here. Well, again, everyone, welcome to CMB Realty Services. I am really excited because June is National Homeownership Month, and this is a time that we are we talk a little bit more about the importance of homeownership. And I think right now it's really important to talk about it, being that we are in a time where things feel uncomfortable. There's a lot of you out there that are saying, hey, I want to purchase a home, or you want to purchase a home, but you're afraid because of the way the real estate market is going. So we have Chris who's going to talk to you guys about home ownership, and hopefully Chris will talk a little bit about what the rates are doing, because I hear it all the time. Chris and I, we talk about it, how people are afraid to buy a home because they're afraid of the rates. We also are going to have Bonita on, who's on with us, and she's going to talk about credit. And I'll be introducing her. She is a beast when it comes to credit. She knows what she's doing. It's not multi-level marketing. She practices what she preaches. She doesn't have bad credit and telling us how to fix our credit. She does some amazing things. So we're going to be talking about all of this because it's important to make sure that when you are seeking to purchase a home, that you understand the process. My goal is that you guys kill the noise from all of the media, forget what the media is telling you, because I'll tell you, you can read something on your socials. You can read something in the newspaper, and they'll probably be two different things. And this is why it's important that we hear from the actual professionals. The professionals are here to ensure that you understand what's happening and what's going on in the real estate industry. Please listen up. I want you guys to listen. Feel free to invite someone. If you have a link, please feel free to invite them in as well. I want to say hello. We have agents here. I want to make sure I name all of my agents. So someone who may have invited you, or you may have seen this on Facebook. We have Tori Vincent. We have Sherman Jones, Sonia Baldwin. We have Nayeli Quintero Barajas. I hope I said your last name right, Nayeli. We have, and I'm trying to think it offhand, Natasha Henderson, Shar Williams, Brian Ward. Who am I missing? Jackie Fields, Laura Ross, Danny Roberson, Paula Johnson. So all of these Amber Homes. So I have 12 agents here who may have shared this information with you. My name is Kama Burton. I'm the broker owner of CMB Realty Services. I realized I did not say that. And our goal here, our mission statement is that we empower, inspire, and educate. That's what we do here at CMB Realty Services. Our vision statement is that we make real estate dreams reality. The more we know, the more we grow. The more we know, the more we can share with you. So not only do we educate you all, we stay educated here at CMB Realty Services. We have been in business since 2020. So 2020, we've been in business, but I have been a realtor since 2005. So I've been a realtor for the past 20 years. And I find it important to make sure that you are educated in the process. And that's what my agents do here as well. They make sure that you are educated through the process. So again, we want to thank you for taking your Saturday and just taking some time with us to really understand the real estate process and how it works. So before I get started, I want to share something with you all, because I want to make sure that you understand how things are working here in our real estate industry, so that you see when we're telling you something or advising you on something, we're not advising you because we're trying to just get a paycheck. In our office, it's not about the paycheck, it's about the education. It's about how we're going to be able to help those that are seeking to either buy a home or even sell a property or even get an investment property. That's what we're here to do, is make sure you have a clear understanding, because sometimes things close, sometimes things don't. And guess what? We don't get paid until the deal closes. So we're here to make sure you understand that through the process. So give me a second. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Okay. So I want to show you all and share with you all something that, and bear with me as well, because we're going to share this to our company's website, so that way the agents can go in and share this information as well for our company's page. That's what happens with technology. You know, we try to do it all. Just bear with me. Okay, still not letting me do what I need to do. I will try that later. Agents, if you're on, please feel free to go to my page and you can share it from my page because it's not going on the CMB page for some reason. All right. So I wanted to share this page with you all because I think it's super important to understand what the market looks like. So as you see right now, I'm going to scroll down here and I want you to see what we see. Now, I know many of you all may have heard that the market is not doing well and everything's about to fall. We're going to go into this huge recession like we did in 2008. And you guys, I'm here to tell you, as of right now, that is not so. And here's why. When you understand that in 2008 and 9, when the market crashed, the reason the market crashed was because there were a lot of borrowers that had received an adjustable rate mortgage. So when they received that particular adjustable rate mortgage, they may have had a rate of 2% or 3%, paying, $1,200 a month or paying $1,000 a month. Well, when it adjusted, it jumped up. Some doubled, went to $2,400 a month or higher, $1,800 a month, a number that was not comfortable. And I'm just telling you guys this in a nutshell. So what happened, people realized, I can't pay that for the next 30 years. I don't make enough money for that right now. So they stopped, they abandoned their loan. They couldn't pay. They ended up losing their property. So we don't have that today. I heard a statistic that over 70% of borrowers across the nation has an interest rate, a fixed interest rate of under 4%. So it's hard for people to just sell their property or even lose their property because they are paying a comfortable rate, regardless of what things may look like. So that's why we probably won't see what you think we're going to see. I talked to an agent not too long ago who said, hey, I was reading on, I won't say the name of the site, but I was reading on this site and they're saying that we're about to have a market crash. And I said, okay, well, look at this. So right here, what I'm going to share with you guys is a market trend that we looked at. And this particular market trend kind of shows us some information here that will help you all through this process. So we look at months of inventory. So as of today, I'm just going to use the city of Moreno Valley because that's where the office is located. However, we can sell real estate anywhere in the state of California. But in the city of Moreno Valley, we only have 2.28 months of inventory. That means if everything goes off the market or goes pending today, in about 2.25 months, we will have absolutely no inventory. If you see here, it says that we're in a seller's market. I'm going to talk about that in a second. The reason they're saying we're in a seller's market because this number here needs to be 6 to 8 months for us to be in more of a balanced market. So that way we're in a more comfortable market. A lot of people still have the mindset and the mentality of we are in this market of the pandemic as well, where the interest rates had all dropped. That's when the homes were flying off the shelf. They were going for $50,000, $100,000, $25,000 more than what the property was listed. We're not there anymore. So right here, we still don't have a lot of inventory. However, the market has shifted a little bit because now the homes are staying on the market a little bit longer than what they were staying on the market previously. Now, during the pandemic, they were staying on the market, I won't even say days, it seems like hours, but back then, on average, they were staying on the market about 7 days. As you see right here, I'm just going to skip over, the median days in our system is 23 days. That's just across Moreno Valley as a whole, but depending on the zip code, the neighborhood, that might shift as well. It might be higher, it might be lower. I'll give an example. I have a listing in Corona. The average days on market is 34 days. So it's going to take probably about 34 days before the phone just really start ringing and we actually get an actual offer on the property. What does that mean for you buyers? That means that the longer a house is on the market, that means that you might have a chance to negotiate a little bit more and a little bit better when you go and buy your home. So when you're saying, well, I'm waiting for the interest rates to drop, which means that if interest rates drop, you're going to have a flood of people coming in. You'll have cash buyers coming in, people coming in with larger down payments, and you are competing with the property. Now is the time if you're ready and if you're able. Okay. And that's why we're here to get you prepared. Now, I want you to look at this percentage here. It says sold to list price. This means that when someone lists a property, their home is still selling with at least what they listed the property for, plus about 0.4% over. That's usually because someone is asking for what we call concessions, which can include your agent's commissions. It could include escrow, title fee, so all of your closing costs. So they're just saying on average that in the city of Moreno Valley is still selling at what the house is listed for and just slightly higher. So when people say, oh my gosh, we're in this, we're about, the market's about to crash. Well, if the market's going to crash, I'll tell you this, we're going to have probably more homes on the market. This number will be much, much lower. And this will probably see more homes on market a little bit longer. So don't panic, you guys. Please don't fear. This is why it's important to listen to us here as real estate professionals. So at this time, I'm going to go ahead and stop the share there, and I'll share the other slide later. But I just wanted to share that with you so I can kind of set the stage, because there's a lot of people that believe that this is not the time to buy. Again, interest rates are too high. Chris will talk about that. And then I'm going to show you a tool that we use to show what happens when you wait. Oh, my credit's not good. Well, guess what? That's what we have Bonita here to help you get your credit together. Oh, well, I have problems with financing. Well, Chris is here to help you because there's down payment assistance available for you, which we'll share a little bit later. So there's resources out there for you. So at this time, I'm going to actually call up Chris first because Chris is the lender. He's going to talk about the lending portion, and then I'll have Bonita come up because once you hear the lending, which you always have people talk to the lender first, and then you'll hear from the credit person, Bonita, where she's going to get a little bit more in depth about credit. So at this time, I am going to bring to our virtual stage, Chris Daddario with Express Lending.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Kama, and thanks again for having me on. Yeah, to speak to what you're talking about, definitely a crash. We don't see it. The stats that you just provided, give some great insight in regards to what would need to happen for there to be a crash. And also, as somebody, to let you guys know, I'm a mortgage professional. I've been doing this for 22 years. All I've done mainly is mortgage loan originating and or senior management, running mortgage teams, fixing loans, just kind of what my whole half of my life now has been doing. Sometimes the fear of anything that we do in life can hold us back. And as somebody that even went through the crash and came through the other side of it, I was working with a lot of homeowners where, as Kama had mentioned, part of the crash is when things really kind of changed, and all of a sudden subprime mortgages were the main culprit, not necessarily just adjustable mortgages that caused the crash. And with that being said, the rates change. What Kama was talking about, that was a huge part of it. But what was also happening was that at that time, there was a lot of 100% financing with bad credit scores, with stated income loans, without doing income kind of verifications. And really, a lot of people that owned homes didn't necessarily have to go through the same kind of process that you do today to own a house, whether you're doing 0% down through down payment assistance, or even coming in with the down payment. So what had happened was that we got to that point where, looking at Kama's chart, all those days start moving, where all of a sudden now it's not 62 days to market to sell, it's 150, 180. We start seeing the sales price go from 102 to all of a sudden it's in the 90s and the 80s. And all of a sudden we get to this point to where somebody owns this house that's an asset that is worth less than what they currently owe on the mortgage because it did 100% financing. And the same house now, they could rent it for, rather than having a mortgage payment of $2,800 a month, well, they could rent it for $2,200. And for some people, once they hit that mark of being upside down, they just got to the point to where they were like, you know what, I'm not going to do this anymore because I don't have any equity in the property. I'm going to let this go. At the time, it might have felt like it was the right decision, but history has kind of shown that anybody that made it through that crash, even that held on to that property, was fortunate because the values all came back and then some to at a higher point now. So my point to that is that when you're purchasing real estate, if you can, be long on it. Don't be even afraid of a crash if it were to happen. Again, we don't see it, but I certainly knew homeowners too, that ones that didn't just throw in the towel right away, that owned through the crash, they got assistance, they got modifications, they got principal reductions load where, because especially the ones that were in these bad asset loans that were still making the payments, what happens is there's a whole secondary market on mortgages at the time. And all of a sudden, it was a big thing that happened where a lot of these subprime banks, because they got a little too greedy with their lending practices, well, now they own these assets that were upside down and they were only worth 40 to 50 cents on the secondary market. So what that would mean is that if you were servicing a mortgage that was 300,000, well, it was only worth 150. And for some homeowners that were still making their payments, they were offered relief in the sense where somebody would buy that asset at 50 cents to the dollar, and then they would lower someone's balance by 30%. And then they were able, rather than having to give up their home and even rent another house, they were able to ride it through. And then when everything came back, they were gold. They were in a great situation because of it. So my point to everybody is that if there's a crash, it will never just affect you. The crash is bigger than yourself. It's bigger than me. It's bigger than everybody. But if you just kind of keep swimming, you're always going to be okay. So I just wanted to speak on that real briefly. In regards to what's going on in the market, I guess, we're kind of in this period now where it's been about 3 years that interest rates have been a little bit more elevated compared to the previous 15 years of interest rates that we saw. From really 2000, and I guess it was 14 or 13 years. It was probably about 2008, 2009. That's kind of where our rates are right now, where they were back then. But we saw a 14-year period where interest rates, had fallen from the mid sixes to where at the lowest point, we got all the way down to the mid twos on a 30-year fixed conventional mortgage. So for a 15-year period, it was really this great little descent we had. And a lot of that was because of the crash and everything coming back together. And, while housing just dipped for only a year or two before it started its incline back, we had this happen for about 15 years. And, now with interest rates going up, the big, obviously, component of that has been inflation. Many of you have all heard of that by now. That's been the big driving force in regards to why the feds have raised interest rates. They've actually started to lower them. We do anticipate they will be going down in the future, whether it's the near future of 6 months to 2 years. We don't know. It's all just going to be based on the inflation numbers and the data that gets presented. But it does appear that inflation in a whole is cooling, and we do anticipate rates to go down a little bit in the future. What that means for you is that if you are a homeowner, you will be able to take advantage of that. You could potentially have a lower payment. You can pay off your mortgage faster. There are many things you can do that if you get in now, if it makes sense for you, if rates go down in the future, you're going to be in a very stable asset, which should only get better over time. History has shown that with homeownership and owning a house. So that's one great thing about it. The market right now, again, we're still slightly in a seller's market. The statistics will show you. But the good thing is that we're not in a heavy seller's market, like what Kama had touched upon, to where maybe, a house goes on the market, it's going for 30, 40,000 over asking, you're competing against 8 to 15 different offers. So, in that kind of a market, if you need down payment assistance, those are typically the first offers that the seller will not want to accept, because the reality of it is that someone that's putting more of a down payment down on paper looks a little bit more qualified than somebody who isn't. So the good news is that if you are a first-time home buyer utilizing 100% financing, you have a better shot at getting your offer accepted. On top of that, seller concessions are a big thing, and it's a big tool that we as lenders use to combat higher interest rates. We have two different types of buy downs we can do. There's the temporary interest rate buy down and a permanent interest rate buy down. Temporary interest rate buy down will give you more relief for a shorter period of time. And when I say more relief, you're typically starting at an interest rate as low as 3% lower than what the market is the first year, 2% the second year, and 1% the first year. There are variations of this. This is not an adjustable mortgage, but it is something that will help you for the first few years in hopes that when interest rates do go down, you can kind of time that. And then if you do refinance, you get the money back. If you wanted a different type of buy down, there's what we call permanent buy down. And that won't necessarily help as much as with your mortgage payment as a temporary buy down would, but you're still going to use a seller concession and a credit to get you a below market rate for right now. So there are definitely tools, these kind of things, in 2020, 2021, when the market was on fire, so to speak, and houses were really appreciating quicker than um, there was significantly more buyers than there were sellers at that time. You couldn't do these kind of things. We didn't have these type of tools. So if you were waiting, it's better now than it was before, with the caveat that the housing prices are a little bit more expensive though. So the longer you wait, you don't get the time back. The fear of the crash, it's just something, fear can prevent you from any kind of success in life. And again, I'm not saying that just jump in and do something without ever planning for it or budgeting or things like that. But fear is always a component in anything we do. And I just really believe that don't dream it, be it. And everybody has a chance to be a homeowner. You just got to get your mind right, get your grind tight, and do the things you got to do to be able to do this. So, and I'm here to 100% help out along the way. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Chris. I'm going to come back up here. There we go. All right. So does anyone have any questions for Chris? If you don't, let me explain to you how we normally work here at CMB. Now, anybody's able to, we can't just say, hey, go to Chris only. Now, Chris is a preferred lender in our office, and it is important for people to talk to the lender first to get some information in regards to their qualifications. The reason I go to the lender first is because oftentimes I'll hear people say I'm not ready, and they are ready, or they may need like small time to, to do something. So what I do is I send them to Chris. Chris will run information, and I'll tell you guys, please stop being afraid of having someone run your credit. The beauty is they can do potentially a soft pull, so it really doesn't harm your credit. Just please bear with us. And the reason I say this is because we cannot help you. The lender cannot help you. The credit cannot help you if we don't know where you stand. I'm going to give you a quick story. Some years ago, I know my credit was messed up. It was really, really bad. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't want to run credit. But yet and still I'm getting all of these. If you guys ever have one of those, you're pre-approved, you're pre-approved. I'm like, why are they pre-approving me when I can't get anything? Do you know I checked my credit and everything off my credit was gone because it had passed the 7-year mark. There was nothing negative, and then I was able to build from there. So please don't be afraid to look at it, because what happened in 1925 is not what's going to happen in 2025. So just understand that there is hope for you all. I don't care how bad the situation is. And I see Sherman's hand up, so I'll have him out. I'll let him ask a question before I was going to ease into how I know Bonita. But I'm going to share a story with you as part of my introduction of Bonita. But please don't be afraid to talk to the lender, because the lender as well will talk to you all about the importance of what you need to put down, because there's a myth out there that you have to put down 20% in order for you to buy a property. No, that's not true. You don't have to put down. You can go as low as 3%. All right, let's go with Sherman. You have a question?
Yes, I have a question. I listened to, and it's actually for both you and Chris. I listened to both of you talk, and one of the things that I didn't hear you say is that property prices of houses are going down. But it's a big myth out here that if you wait, because of everything that we're going through, prices are going down. I heard Chris say that interest rate may go down, but I still haven't heard either one of you as a realtor or a finance person say that prices are going down. So can you comment on that?
Sure. I'll say my piece and I'll let Chris say his piece. So the chart that I showed you all when we first got started showed that on average properties are selling at 100% list price and above. Now, as far as properties going down, I based on the statistics, are some people dropping the price on their property? Absolutely. Are people getting less or making offers on property less than what it is? Absolutely. But on average, people are selling their home at what the home is listed at. Chris?
Yeah, and maybe again, kind of speaking to that, we're not seeing a free fall in prices, and really the graph that Comma displayed, those are probably the best indicators that you can truly see in a market and what's happening there. You know, certain prices will sell for less, and a lot of that just might have to do with the fact that it was listed higher to begin with. Certain houses will sell for more because the reality is that the house was listed lower than it was probably worth. And at the end of the day, what ends up happening is that the house is only worth what it sells for, and there's one seller and one buyer in that transaction. But you know, these kind of trends, you have to look at it in a long-term type of thing, because that's what real estate is. It's a long-term investment. You know, certainly it's possible whenever you're buying, you know, and I know myself, just to share my story real quickly, was that I purchased my house in 2019. And at the time, that was the high of the market. We had come up higher than where we were even after the crash, and it was higher than 2018. And it felt the same way as it will for somebody purchasing a house today. So whenever you're buying, the market price is going to be the market price to where it is at that point. And you know, but what you don't get back is the time involved. So you know, I think as long as you have an outlook, you know, of at least a couple years from it, you know, so worst case the house goes down, but how does that necessarily affect you? You know, your payment's going to stay the same, you know, if you're in a fixed rate mortgage. And there might even be some potential to where if the house were to go down, that you can get a lower interest rate as well too. So, you know, and again, that's the anomaly. Like we're talking about, that's like we see typically in these kind of trends in real estate over history, we might see a downturn, which there likely will be another downturn. It's like anything else, any kind of asset, there will be. But if the overall trend is like this, and you go through a tiny period like this, that is typically in real estate less than 1 to 2 years, you know, you're not gonna it's not going to hurt you. In fact, it'll probably only benefit you and or helping you as long as you're swimming, like I said, to keep swimming with the rest of them. Anybody I know that's bought a house, whether it be 30, 20, 10 years ago, nobody I know is upset about it. You know, so history just shows in terms of building wealth, and you know, if that's what your goal is, and just in terms of stability, and maybe not even these days potentially being priced out of living in California, it's definitely a real thing. Homeownership is really the key to all of it.
Yeah.
If you
And
can own a
Chris,
house.
you said something key. A lot of times these homes are listed for higher than what they're worth, more than what the market is calling for. And when I kind of go back to what I mentioned about the pandemic, some people's mindset is still kind of stuck in the pandemic. So there's a lot of owners out there that's like, look, I know I can get this for my house, but that's not where we're at. We have to be realistic of where the market is taking us. And when we're realistic about where the market is taking us, then we're good. But yeah, a lot of the factors, it's probably priced a little bit higher. And that could be anywhere from the homeowner wanting more or the agent saying, hey, let's just try to get more. There's different factors. But as of right now, even though it may not feel that way, the prices are still selling at, like Chris said, the value of what the house is worth, because the buyer's going to dictate that. All right. All right. Well, thank you so much for that question. Thank you so much, Chris. If you can hang around a bit, I am next going to bring up our, sorry, I'm trying to, what am I doing? I think I got it. Did I do that right?
Hey.
Okay, there's Bonita. So we have Bonita up. I'm super excited because Bonita is the real deal. Okay, let me be very clear. The reason why I say Bonita's the real deal, because I've come across a lot of people now. I've been through several credit repair companies. Now, remember I told you guys in the beginning how I got all those pre-approval letters? I got excited. Well, I got so excited I didn't know how to deal with my credit. So what happened? I ended up messing up on my credit again. I ended up finding Bonita through a mutual friend of ours, Coach Ella Blaine. And Bonita, Coach was talking so much and so highly about Bonita that I got excited. I reached out to her. And one thing I love about her mission is that their goal is to, they help you get to a 700 credit score. And what I really love is that her mission aligns with ours. Her company educates you through the process. So it's not your typical, oh, you just give somebody your information, write some letters, and it's like, it's gone. No, she was like, Kami, you may want to pay this down. You may want to call this person. Let's work on this. And when I follow the formula works. So I am a testament to it. So I'm not telling you this just because I just met her. I'm telling you this because I've gone through this and I stand by her company and what she does. So I call her my credit girl. She's phenomenal. She's passionate. And I'm going to give this over to Bonita.
I appreciate you. Thank you. I remember the first day you called me. I was picking up my kids from school and you were like, I don't really deal with credit people. Like you.
Oh, that's karma.
Yes, I don't really deal with credit people, and I'm gonna need you to work on my stuff first, and then I'll see if I introduce you to my people.
Yes, I've been burnt too much, so thank you. And here we are, how many years later, and we're still together. So
I love it. I love it. Can I share my screen? Yes, I can. Okay, perfect. So let me share my screen. All right. Can you see my screen where it says understanding your credit?
Yes.
Yep. Okay, perfect. All right. Well, my name is Bonita Grant, and I'm the owner of Cure My Credit Scores. I have a team that helps all of our clients get their scores up to a 700 or greater. And I used to be a teacher. I was a teacher in the DC and Boston public schools for 10 years. So education is extremely important to me. And so I really want to not just, fix people's credit, but also like educate you on how credit works and so that you can teach your kids, your nieces and nephews, your grandma, because I feel like we're judged on our credit, but nobody really takes a second to explain how it works. Okay. So I'm going to go over a little bit about how your credit works. And please ask me any questions. Again, this is my passion. This is what I love doing. We've helped over 10,000 people get their credit scores up, which is amazing. I know I'm going to heaven. Like this is it for me. All right, so let's go over how your credit score works. Your credit score, it's a 3-digit number ranging from 350 to 850, and it comes from a complex equation called FICO. And you really have to be a PhD in math to break down FICO. So we break it down to these 5 categories so you can really understand how it works. The first category is payment history. Now that has to do with how you pay your bills. So anything negative, like late payments, charge-offs, collections, foreclosures, bankruptcies, anything negative will go into this 35%. Now, what my company does is we dispute those negative items. It doesn't matter if you actually were late on that or if that was your collection. We're using the law, it's called the Fair Credit Reporting Act, that says that everything on your credit report has to be 100% accurate, reporting timely information and verifiable. And a lot of times they just throw this stuff on your credit report. They spell your name wrong. They have the wrong address. Sometimes they even have the wrong amount that you owe, right? So we're writing to the credit bureaus and we're like, prove it. Show us. Show that this is mine, and that's how we're able to get some of this stuff off your credit report. Now, one way to help this 35% is whenever you have an open account and you're paying it on time, it positively helps this 35%. So if you have a car note or a credit card and you're paying it on time, that's going to help. It's not apples to apples. It's not like if you pay on time this month and you pay late next month, it just washes each other out, right? They want you to be in the 98th percentile when it comes to your payment history, right? So if you were paying an account for 5 years straight, right, you would have about 100 on-time payments. You paid on time for 5 years straight. You get one late payment, your scores could drop 20 to 70 points just on one late payment, even though for 5 years you've been paying on time, right? and let's say you get 2 late payments, right? Your score could drop 100 to 120 points. So they are not fair with this. They really want you to be on time at all times to really maximize this 35%. So what we tell people is put everything in auto pay, because I mean, sometimes we forget. Sometimes we can't manage all of this and manage the family and manage work and all the rest of the stuff. So if you have it on auto pay, auto minimum pay, at least you won't have to worry about it being paid on time each month. Now, 30% of your score, which is almost close to 35% of your score, has to do with your credit cards. Only your credit cards, okay? So if you don't have any credit cards, it means that you're automatically missing out on this 30%. So it's kind of like if you were in class and the teacher said the final exam is worth 30%, you can do well in every other part of the class, but if you miss the final exam, the most you can get is a 70, is a C. Same thing with your credit. If you do not have any credit cards, you cannot get A+ credit, okay? So it's not just about having credit cards in this 30%, it is about the limit versus the balance. Not if you're paying it on time. You paying it on time affects this 35%. Your limit versus your balance affects 30% of your score. So let's say I got you $1,000 credit card and you went and spent $500 on this card. You'd be at 50% utilization of this card. Anytime you're above 30% utilization, it is going to hurt your credit, okay? If you are over the limit, or the closer you get to the limit, the more it hurts your credit. If you're ever over the limit on your credit cards, it is going to hurt your credit almost as bad as like a bankruptcy hit in your credit. I've seen people's scores drop 100, 150 points because they're over the limit on a credit card. Okay. It does not matter if the credit card is a $300 credit card or a $3,000 credit card. If you are over the limit, it's going to hurt your credit. So we want you, when you're ready to buy a house, a car, whatever you want to do with your credit, you want to be way under 30%. You want to keep your credit cards closer to 10% of the limit. 10% of $1,000 is $100, right? So what I'm saying is you should not spend more than $100 on $1,000 credit card. And know you're in your head, like, why would they give me a credit card if I can't even use it, right? Like $100, like, what is that? Well, they are testing you every month. And they're trying to see, are you dependent on this money? Do you need this money to get you through the month? Do you need this money? You know, so in their mind, if you're spending more than 10%, you're dependent on this credit card. And if you're dependent on this $1,000 credit card, are we able to give you a $500,000 loan? Are you able to get a new car and get a new debt that shows up on your credit report? So you want to show them that this is play money. I'm not really using it. It's just, you know, there. I always say not there for emergencies, because if you have credit cards for emergencies, emergencies happen all the time. Like, I don't know your life, but I know my life with my 3 boys. There's always an emergency. We cannot use our credit for emergencies, okay? We have to use our credit to build our wealth, okay? So 10%. I know that seems low, but you can actually be too low on your credit cards. Anytime you're below 1%, it becomes neutral. It's no longer helping you. It's not hurting you, but it's not helping you. Okay. So when 10% was helping you, 0 is, or anything below 1% is not helping you. I've seen people pay their credit cards all the way down to 0, and then their scores drop 50 points. Okay. So I know it's tricky. I know it's tricky. Credit is super tricky, but if you know the rules, you can win the game, okay? The fact is, nobody tells us the rules. The rules are, with your credit card, 1 to 10%. So with a $1,000 credit card, you need to keep the balance between $10 and $100 at all times. At all times, okay? Now, a lot of people, you know, they're on TikTok and Facebook has all these, you know, tricks, and all of it is clickbait. They just want you to click on it and, you know, buy their program, or, you know, get more likes or whatever. But listen, all times does mean all times. A lot of people think, okay, I have $1,000 credit card, I'll charge it up to 1,000, and then I'll pay it down to 100 before the bill is due, and I'll be fine. The problem is you do not know when they're going to report the limit and the balance to the credit bureaus. Just because you pay your bill on the 16th of each month does not mean that that's when they're going to report it to the credit bureaus. They may report it on the 15th. They may report it on the 10th. They could report it on the 30th. And even if they reported it on the 15th for the last 3 months, does not mean they're going to report it on the 15th this month. And it seems like as soon as we charge up our credit cards, that's when they decide to report it to the credit bureaus. So when you are up to big things like buying a house, you want to get your cards down to that 1 to 10% and leave it there. Take your cards out of your wallet, leave it between 1 and 10%. If you do that, you will be mastering this 30%. I've seen people's, pay their cards down to between 1 and 10% and their scores jump 100 points in 1 month when everything reports, okay? So the other thing about credit cards is there are 2 exceptions to this rule. One is if it is a store card, you can only use it at that store, like a Walmart card or a Macy's card. You can only use it at that store. You can keep the balance between 0 and 10%. And the other exception, a lot of people are like, my grandma has 800 credit scores and she pays her cards down to 0 each month. Whenever your credit card is older than 7 years, meaning you've had this card for longer than 7 years, you can keep the balance between 0 and 10%. At that point, they trust you, okay? If it is younger than 7 years, they're testing you every month. They're seeing if you're actually using it and you're keeping a small balance on it, okay? So it's not like you have to use your card every month. You just have to keep a balance. So if you had a $1,000 credit card, charge it to 100, then pay the minimum payment for about 5 or 6 months until it gets down to $10. Then you charge it again. Maybe you only have to use your cards once or twice a year, right? Depending on what the limit is. If it is a $300 card, you want to use it for coffee once a month, not for gas, because I don't know anyone who spends $30 on gas, okay? Coffee once a month, right? You want to keep the balance with a $300 card between $3 and $30, okay? All right, if you do that, you will be mastering your credit cards and you'll see a major difference. You're going to call me like, it's going to be awesome, okay? 15% of your score has to do with how old your credit is. They want to see that you have had credit for a long period of time. So they take all of your open accounts and average them out. When the average is older than 7 years old, then you are eligible to be in the 800 scores, okay? When it's younger than 7 years, it doesn't really help you as much, but the closer it gets to 7 years, the higher your potential score can be if everything is looking great, okay? See some stuff in the chat. Let me see if anyone has a question. Is this per credit card? Yes, you want to keep your Brittany asks, is this per credit card? Yes. So very good question, Brittany. Because the calculator, the equation that comes up with the FICO score actually looks at each card individually and it looks at all of your cards collectively. So it's going to look at each card. If you're over the limit on one card and then you're down to 10% on one card, it's still going to hurt you, okay? So you want to get each card down to 10% and then your overall utilization, once that is below 10%, then you're winning. So what I always tell people is work on the smaller cards first. Like let's say you have 4 credit cards and 2 of them are like $500 cards. Get those ones down to 10% because it's going to be cheaper to get those down to 10% and then work on the bigger cards. But very first thing is make sure everything is under the limit, right? Under the limit, and then try to get stuff down to 10%. Good question. When you say keep a balance, are you referring to not paying off the total amount owed each month? Yes. So a lot of people are like, if I don't pay off the total amount, I'm going to have to pay interest on the card. I don't want to pay interest on the card. Paying interest on $5 or $20 is like $1.10. It is going to help your credit so much if you keep it between 1 and 10%. So I do want you to pay your cards down, but not off, okay? And remember, these are cards that are younger than 7 years old and cards you can use anywhere, okay? Perfect, great questions. Keep the questions coming. All right, so 10% of your score has to do with inquiries. We hear about inquiries all the time. It's so crazy, right? Because when people come into our program, the thing that they're worried about the most is inquiries. It's not a big deal, right? And especially when you're in when you're about to buy a house, you're gonna need your loan officer to pull your credit report, okay? we may need to add some positive credit, like add a credit card to your credit report. So what we say with inquiries is don't do anything unless your team tells you to do it. Your loan officer, your realtor, your credit repair person, do not apply for it. I mean, we get your scores up to 700. People get excited. I had one client, we got them to 700. They got pre-approved. They found the house. They got inspection and everything. They were about to close on their house. Let me tell you, this woman got excited and went and bought furniture for the house. And when I think it was like Bob's or something like that, went and bought the living room and the bedroom furniture. And a lot of times they tell you, oh, your credit is great. We're just gonna we're gonna finance this furniture. The financing of the furniture was in the form of a credit card. They never say we're going to get you a credit card. We're going to finance your furniture and you don't have to pay us for the next 18 months, no interest for the next 18 months. So she bought, I think, $17,000 worth of furniture. They approved her for $17,000 credit card. So what happened was that $17,000 credit card showed up on her credit report before she closed, maxed out. What do you think that did to her scores? Dropped them. They dropped her scores so low that she was not able to get her actual house. She didn't close. Her scores were too low. The loan officer couldn't fund her. So what I'm saying to you is do not apply for anything unless you talk to your team. You've hired us, you've hired the loan officer, you've hired your realtor, you've hired us to help put you on the right track, the fastest track to get in your house. So please do not hesitate to call us. We all give you our cell phones. You have my cell phone, you have all of our cell phones. So do not apply for anything. So with inquiries, I'm staying in your credit report for 2 years, but it's the ones that happen in the last 6 months that can negatively affect your credit report. So they really don't want you to have more than 4 inquiries in a 6-month period before it starts to hurt your credit. Okay. So don't apply for anything unless we tell you. The last part of your credit report is basically, they want to see that you have a diverse credit report. So at minimum, you want to have 2 major credit cards, 1 department store card, 1 installment account, and installment account can be like a mortgage, a car note. It's something that you pay installments with, a loan. You do that and you'll be good with the types of credit you have. So we work on all 5 categories at the same time, and that's how we're able to get you to a 700 or greater. This is our website. Please look. We have almost 400 reviews, so that's exciting, of people we've helped get their scores up, and then also get them business credit, because we also work on business credit. This is one of my clients I want to show you before and after. She allows me to show her credit report. She came in April. Scores were 553, 546, and 550. Now, when you're trying to buy a house, they drop the highest score, they drop the lowest score, and they give you the loan on the middle score, right? Middle score is about 550. Your middle score needs to be, depending on what loan you're going for, you really want to have it like 640, 680, so that you can get the best possible options, right? All right, so this is April. She had 3 kids also, and she was trying to buy a house before her youngest got into middle school so that she could be in a certain district. So 3 months into her program, right? Look at this. TransUnion went to a 692, a 717 in experience, and a 680. So in 3 months, her middle score went from a 550 to a 692. So she was able to put her baby in the school system that she wanted. She was super excited. I really love her story. This is another client of mine who came in August, and he was actually looking to buy an investment property. He had already owned a house, and then credit got messed up, and so he wanted to buy some property to build his generational wealth. And he had a 587, a 590, 574. Middle score is a 587. And it came in August. Look at this. This is 1 month later. Watch this. 690, 691, and 680. 100-point jump in every category. Because listen, I'm telling you, just like Carmen said, I love what I do, and my team is amazing, but we're going to tell you straight up, like we want you to do, what we're going to do so that we can get you to where you want to be, so that you can win this game of credit and go on further and make big moves. Okay, cool. So some people may have some questions. I'll be around if you have some questions. I have a sick baby, so I'm probably gonna run out before this is over. But anyone, oh, good. I'm glad you got some good information. And then my number is up here. My cell phone too. So you have my cell phones if you want to text. But if you are interested and you need help with your credit, I always say go to the lender first. Carmen will tell you. Sometimes people think, oh, my credit isn't, and then you go to the lender and you're pre-approved. So I would say go to Linda first, and Chris will tell you, go to Bonita. She will help you. But the biggest thing, I wanted to go back to what you were saying earlier and what you also said, Chris. I bought my first house in 2018. I remember because I was pregnant. 2018, my interest rate was 7.9%, right? I think I paid like $480,000 for my house or something like that, 2018. 7.9%. People were like, oh, 7.9%. But whatever. 2020 happens. Interest rates go down. They always tell you, marry the house, date the interest rate. You can always change your interest rate. Our interest rate went down to 2%. But guess what? From 2018 to 2021, my house value went up $100,000. If I had waited until prices dropped or interest rates dropped or, all of that, I wouldn't have had that much equity in my house. So I always tell people, like, buy your house. I don't know anybody. And again, I told you, I've helped all these people buy the houses. I don't know anybody who bought a house and then 3 years later, their value or their investment went down. It goes up. It goes up. And that's what you were talking about, Sherman. I haven't heard of prices go down. It doesn't. And even if it does go down, like Chris said, it goes like this. Still going up. It never goes like this. You know what I'm saying? So it's one of the best ways to build generational wealth, one of the best ways to invest. And when you do it once, you want to do it more. You want to just get more houses and more houses. And I'm telling you, that's how you create trust fund babies. That's how you do it. So yes, if you need any help with your credit, I'm here and my team can definitely help. And if you have any questions, I'll be around for another like 5-10 minutes if you have questions.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Bonita. Let me tell you guys, when your credit is good and where you need to be, you feel more empowered. I'm going to bring Chris back up as well. So the three of us are on here just in case there's any questions. It is very important that you have a good team behind you. And that's why we have Bonita, we have Chris, and it's important that we have people that believe in you. And if anybody's on Facebook, because we have some Facebook viewers as well, please feel free to ask questions. Please, if you're watching this on my page or whoever's page, Tori's page, I see Tori's had some people come in here. Please reach out to the person that invited you and ask them to make sure you guys get linked. Now, I wanted to show you guys something just real quick before we go. We're just going to be on just a couple more minutes and we will be done here. We're not going to hold up your day, but I just want to show you what happens when you wait. This is a chart. As a realtor, under the California Association of Realtors, we have some great resources. So I like to show this every once in a while so people can understand what happens when you wait. So it's loading right now so it can come up. So this is where we're at. So we're going to choose Riverside County. Give it just a second. There we go. So I guess I could have typed it in. Here we go. We're going to go choose Riverside County. So that way we are, for those that are in Riverside County. All right. Okay, I'm just going to leave the annual income. We can mix this up or what have you. I just want to show you what happens. Now, you guys know during the pandemic, we had rates dropped drastically, right? So this is what it looked like. Let's just say somebody said that they wanted to have, you know what, I want to put this, I'm going to change this, some more information. Let's just say someone said they wanted to have a property and pay no more than $3,000 a month. I put that there because I'm going to tell you the average rent is about $3,000 a month. During the pandemic, rates had dropped, and we're going to just try this again. Let's just say you want to put a 3.5%. There we go. Down. And there we go. There we go. So now it's coming to where I need you guys to see. All right, don't worry about the changes. All right, $3,000 a month is saying that's what you want to pay at 3.5% down. Back then, interest rates went down to almost 2%, but we're just going to click 3%. Watch these numbers shift. Back during the pandemic, if rates were at 3%, just say approximately, I'm not a rate quoter, you were able to buy a $575,000 house, approximately $570,000 with approximately 3.5% down at a $3,000 a month payment. And guess what happened? As everything began to creep, there were people in the background saying, oh no, it's going to drop. It's going to drop. It's going to drop. At one point, we got as high as 8%. I'm not going to click 8%, but we probably averaged about 7.5%. I want you to see what your purchasing power, your buying power shifted to when you waited. Look at that change from, that's a $1,000, almost $200,000 change because people waited the market. This is just a sample of what happened. Now we're waiting. We have people that are still waiting. I'm waiting for 3%. I'm waiting for 3%. Keep waiting if you want to. Right now, it kind of defaults to 6.5%. So right now, it brought your buying power back up to 413,000. Now, let me be clear. Don't look at these numbers and say, oh, I could never buy a house because this is what it says. This is just a guide. Please talk to Chris, the lender, to help you with your numbers. The reason I show this is because when you wait, it costs you. Stop listening to the people that are telling you, wait for this crash, wait for rates to go down, wait for this, wait for that. You can wait for the rates to go down, but what if you waited in your own home, as Bonita did, waited for the rates to drop, refinance, and you can sit with your popcorn while you're watching your neighbors sell their house and there's a line around the corner because now everybody wants it because there's a higher demand. So we have to think differently. So don't wait. The last thing I want to show you, because of the market we're in today, people are accepting down payment assistance programs, and there are options out there because when the interest rates drop, if they drop to a low price, like we witnessed during the pandemic, or if the prices drop to a low price, as we did with the recession, you're going to deal with a flood of people, and people don't deal with down payment assistance programs as often. But let me show you something real quick. We have a listing. One of my agents, Shar Williams, she has a listing right now in the city of Paris, if anybody's interested. And I believe Shar is on. Her property is a 4-bedroom, I believe it's a 4-bedroom, 3-bath property in the city of Paris. This property alone has up to 43 different programs on this one property. Now, are you going to be approved for all of them? No, that's why you have to speak back to the lender. Again, always go back to the professional. Now, this house right now is listed at $520. And if it hasn't, I know at some point it will. It's 41 programs available, single family residence. You can put, I'm going to put here, and guess what? All our agents have access to this. So you can look at this on any property that our agents show you. You can see if something qualifies. If you never owned a home, there's still programs. If you have owned a home more than 3 years ago, there's still programs. And if you have owned a home within three years, there's still potential programs available for you. I always say potential. Here's some more things. So I'm going to get some details for you. Now, some of the programs may be old. Some of the programs, let me go back. I'm sorry, I didn't want to do that. Some of the programs may be not old. They may be out of funds, but maybe getting funds later. Let's go to you all that, let's see. Why did that drop to 11? Let's just keep it here. Uh,
Huh.
those of you all that's never owned a property, I'm sorry, go ahead, Bonita.
Oh, when you put currently owned, that's where it got less.
Oh, is that where I put it? I'm sorry, I meant to put,
Mm-hmm.
no,
Geez,
thank
currently
you.
owned.
There we
Yeah,
go.
there you
Thank
go.
you, thank you.
There
Good
you go.
eyes, thank you. So look, this one property alone has maybe eligible, maybe, you guys, please make sure you don't take out the important words, may be eligible for 41 programs and up to $104,000 in down payment help. Chris,
Wow,
do
then
you
you
work
could
with
really do the
Cal?
20%.
Huh?
You could do the 20% if you got 100,000.
Oh, you can. Absolutely. And now
Yeah.
guess what? Your mortgage insurance is gone.
Yep,
Mm-hmm.
Chris, do you work with Cal HFA?
absolutely.
And you have to
Absolutely.
be approved through that, right?
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. So we have two of our different investors are both through CalHFA, and we have another one too, Golden State as well too, for down payment assistance. So we do have different options there for that.
So
On top
listen,
of that too,
y'all.
sometimes there's
Go
what
ahead.
we call grants as well, there's down payment assistance, which will typically be some type of deferred loan. Sometimes there can just be grants that are given out by the city, county for, whether it be for veterans, whether it be for low income housing. And one thing that are nice about grants is that they don't have to be paid back. Now, they're typically not going to be in the amount of $20,000 to $30,000, but if somebody's offering to give you $5,000, I'll take it all day long.
There you go. And guess what? In this market, many sellers are paying concessions as well. So you might not have to go through all of that. Now, just to let you know, with down payment assistance, no, it will cost you. Nothing's free. So you either get down payment assistance with potentially a higher interest rate, or you
Mhm.
bring in funds, or we ask for help. There's all kind of things that we can do, but again, talk to the lender. All right, Sherman, you have your hand up.
Lender question. Chris, how many down payment assistance programs can a person use at one time?
Well, there's variations of the program, particularly through CalHFA. They have one that will cover your down payment, and then they will also offer another one that can cover part of your closing costs on top of that as well too. So in that sense, you would be stacking two down payment assistance programs on top of each other. Um, and it can be a good tool specifically for somebody that has a pretty solid income, but they just don't have funds for either the closing costs of purchasing the home and or the down payment. But the reason why I say that is that if you are going to stack two down payment assistance programs on top of each other, going back to what Kama had said, you typically are going to have a little bit higher of an interest rate. So, and the other portion of that too is that no matter what, typically you're still going to need some sort of earnest money deposit. So, again, down payment assistance for closing costs and also your 3% or 3.5% down are favorable. But keep in mind that if you are going to buy a house that's listed for sale by a seller, they're going to want you to have some sort of skin in the game as well too. So we typically always recommend that, and you're going to want it anyways. Sometimes you can buy a house with nothing down and or pay no closing costs. If you come across the right situation and there's not as much competition for the house, but we do advise people to at least save up a couple $1,000s. And that's also because, again, keep in mind, even if you're not putting something down, you want to have a little bit of a reserve just in case something were to happen. So that $2,000 you put down or 5,000, whatever it ends up being, that can be refunded back to you if you're using down payment assistance and having your closing costs paid for. But just know that it is a good practice for yourself as a homeowner too. You want to have some kind of reserve anyways, and or to get your offer accepted. It's always going to be significantly easier if you have an earnest money deposit than if you don't. So.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much, Chris. I don't see any other questions in the chat. You guys, thank you for saying yes and showing up today. Please don't think that homeownership is out of your purview. Even if you're thinking about investing into real estate, I don't know if you heard Bonita say she does business credit, so she can help you get your personal credit together as you prepare for your business credit. So please make sure, as we are building, especially generational wealth, you know, you have the lender, you have, well, I have an agent, Sonia, who's here with me today, and she was just talking, we were just talking about how we have people in other states that potentially want to invest. You guys, if you guys have people in other states, contact us because we can give the referral to a great realtor in that particular state. So we're not bound to the state of California. We kind of are, but at least we can get a referral from it. But we can link you with the right person. I want Chris to leave us with a note, Bonita to leave us with a good note, and then we will wrap it up.
Yeah, the biggest thing that I can say to you guys again, don't dream it, be it, and be on the lookout, especially minorities in regards to credit. The game is set up. The credit card companies that are extending you credit, they're not looking out for your interest. They're looking out for theirs, and they're wanting you to pay interest. You know, everything Bonita says is 100% true. And I agree in the sense of if you're starting to build credit, it is important to have those small balances. But as you build your credit, and if you've had installment loans and you start having that payment history, you can really flip the game on them, where if you just have one credit card a month and you pay it off in full, you know, a lot of these companies will offer you cash rewards and things like that. And, you know, for what it's worth, the investors that I see that own multiple properties, that own houses free and clear, a lot of them, whether they own businesses or whether it be with their own personal, that's what they do, where, you know, and some of these are high wealth people that will have expenses of 8,000 to 20,000 a month, but they'll run them all through their credit card and they'll pay it off every single month. And if they're getting 1 or 2% cash back on their money, well, now they went from their credit card company actually paid them $3,000 to $5,000 a year, and they'll use that as a vacation. So if you have that kind of mindset where you can flip the script, where I'm not borrowing this and paying this 10%, 20%, or 30% interest, I'm going to use this as a tool to where they're going to pay me now. That is a huge step in terms of, you know, we don't see that a lot for people that own one house, but when I see the people that are really changing the game and the big players that are going to own multiple houses and do things like that, if you can have that mentality, I think that's the best advice I can give you if you really want to go after it and own multiple properties.
Beautiful. All right, Miss Bonita, because I know she knows something about that.
Yeah, that's so real. Like I flip houses, and so sometimes I'll use my cards to flip the house, which saves me a lot of money. But also, I just flipped a house, um, and I was able to buy tickets and hotel, which I didn't buy. I used points from my cards for tickets and hotel to Costa Rica for 14 people. 14 people didn't have to pay nothing because I was able to use all my points. So, yes, that is a whole flipping the game thing.
Oh,
What
we're
I
gonna,
want you
we're gonna
guys
get you
to
back on that, Bonita. We're gonna have.
Oh yeah, no. Like I've traveled a lot of places on points and cashback. I love all of that. But what I want you guys to leave here with is 1 to 10%. I know people have told you 30% your whole life. That is not the winning formula. Keep your cards between 1 to 10%, and that's how you're able to flip the game. You know, that's how you're able to, when you keep your cards that low, two things happen. One, your credit scores just jump up, but then the credit card companies are like Comma, I like Chris. I'm gonna give them more money. And before you know it, that $1,000 credit card will turn to a 2,000, 3,000, 10,000, $20,000 credit card. And you won't have to ask them for a limit increase. They just like how you're using the card, so they'll give you more money. And that's what you want. That's what you want. You want to not have a whole bunch of inquiries. We talked about that. And when you ask for a limit increase, that's considered an inquiry. You want them to just automatically give you more money. Okay. So
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And again, I cannot stress this enough. Our mission or vision here at CMB Realty Services is to make your real estate dreams reality. So whether you're buying your first home or buying an investment property or selling a property to do whatever it is that you need to do, our goal is to help you through the process. So stay educated. Don't doubt yourself, even when it feels uncomfortable. do it uncomfortable. Even when you're afraid, do it afraid. So thank you guys so much for watching and taking the time with us on this beautiful Saturday morning. And you all have a wonderful Saturday and be safe.
Thank you all.